Okay, what's up, guys? This is Jati Jones, and today I'm very, very, very excited and happy to have my good friend and mentor on the call, Mr. Johnny Soporno. Hello.
Hello.
Before we start, I just want to tell the guys a bit about you. Johnny is one of the top experts in the world when it comes to women, when it comes to attracting them, sex, a connection. Just an incredible guy. I wanted to make a proper introduction that I was going to read, but I could honestly go on for 10 minutes and not really do this man justice. Right now, I want you guys to really, really understand the privilege you have right now, because you're about to meet a real man. I keep talking in my videos about a real man. What is a real man? What is, what you have in front of you now is a personification of a real man who lives in true, constant abundance of women, of love, of friendship, of everything. So Johnny is a big, big role model for me. He's a big role model for thousands of men all around the world. He's known all around the world and has been around the world, and also many men travel from all corners of the globe to come see him and get coached with him personally. So I could keep going. No introduction could do you justice, Mr. Johnny, but I'll keep it at that so we can actually hear you talk.
Oh.
So welcome.
Thank you so much, Jed. I got to say that was one of the most convoluted and adorable introductions I've ever had. I feel like saying, stop, you're embarrassing. But in the simplest sense, I'm very proud that I've gotten the chance to work with you, and I was able to help you progress from where you were to undo some of the bad learning that the seduction community had given you, and help you get to a place where you could be the person you are, and know that not only was that enough, but that it was sublimely enough, that it was all you ever needed to be in the world was a person that you liked sufficiently.
Exactly, and that was a huge turning point for me when I was when I came to you. I was stuck in the pickup artist mess, and now I have a real with my guys, I really caution them against pickup artists and people who lack integrity. So maybe on this topic you can say, well, what's your take on pickup artists, and what do you have to say about that whole thing?
All right, well, let me answer you in two parts. First of all, there are people who call themselves pickup artists professionally.
Okay.
These are people whose job it is to teach men that it's okay to start a conversation with a girl, that it's okay to walk up to someone you've never met before and interact. And this is important because most men never get taught this. Most men go their whole lives believing that women are somehow these dainty little things that we have to do play acting and dances for in order to get their attention, where in fact they're people just like us. And in the same way as we would love it if someone we found interesting and amusing and arousing came over to us to start a conversation and get to know us, they feel exactly the same way. So I have friends who refer to themselves from time to time as pickup artists. However, from my perspective, a genuine pickup artist is a term that way predates the seduction community. A pickup artist was always a guy who was being condemned because he was misusing women. He was pretending he was going to provide them with the security, the comforts, the confidence, the respectability that they felt they needed, and all he was really trying to do was get into their pants. My take on it is, I never want anything from anyone that they aren't giving willingly. And I certainly don't look at anything that a woman has to offer as something she's giving me. If we have sex, it's something we're sharing because it's fun, and she's there because she wants to be, and I'm there because I want to be, and the cameraman's there. It's a very simple situation. As far as I'm concerned, anyone who goes out of their way to convince another person of anything with the intention of that other person's thinking they're going to be getting something from them that never materializes, well, in that case, that first person is a con artist. Simple as that. Sorry, I've got a lot of cat fur on my face. I was bathing my cat. It's That's the problem. I've got a couple of 30-pound Maine Coons.
Oh, look at
That, unfortunately, they are in fact purr machines and fur machines.
this. Yeah.
So, I feel like I'm playing a piano here.
Johnny, stop playing with the pussy. We're doing
There.
an interview.
If only I could. But it gets so upset if I ignore it. For a while.
True.
So to put it back into context, I never have thought of myself as a pickup artist. I've always thought about myself as someone who is good with women. And in fact, historically, I've always been so good with women that guys who thought of themselves as major players couldn't wrap their heads around what it was I was doing. The trick was, I walked over using what I consider to be the absolute best pickup line possible.
Drum roll.
I don't recommend that you use this, okay, because it just wouldn't play out if you used it. Not the way it does for me. But there might be a way to change it subtly so that it would be more appropriate for you. When I see someone across the room, across the street, or at the table next to me, or it's the waitress, or whoever it is that I see who I find interesting, or at least I find sexy and attractive looking, so that I'm attracted, I'll approach them, and with a nice happy smile, I'll say, "Hi, I'm Johnny. What's your name?" Now you see, if you said it because your name isn't Johnny, it would probably not come off with the right timbre. However, I'm sure you could find a way to modify it for yourself. Now the truth is, by walking up to someone and saying, "Hey, I'm Johnny. What's your name?" the message I'm conveying is, this is me. I'm interested in you. A lot of guys never get certain aspects of things that are so elementary and so clear because they don't think about women the way they think about men. They fail to understand that women are motivated by the same things. They want other people to think well of them. They want other people to want good things for them. They want to get laid. And they want not to feel guilty or ashamed or punished for anything they do. These are pretty standard things. There are some ways in which men and women are vastly different as well. But for the purposes of this, I'm going to concentrate just on that aspect. What do you think is the question least asked to beautiful women in nightclubs all around the world? I mean, I'm not asking you, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Pardon? Oh, you're asking me?
No, I'm telling you.
You're telling me, yeah.
The question,
Yeah.
what do you think, is the one that beautiful women never hear.
Yeah.
Because guys don't realize that they should be trying to find out what the girl thinks. I had a great conversation about this with Zan Perian, a great friend. Some number of years ago, we were talking about how we went about choosing with whom we would go to bed. Oh, cut that out.
Jealous.
I had said, it's very straightforward. When I see someone whom I find attractive looking, then all I know about them is they're attractive. I'm attracted to them because they're attractive. That makes it very easy. Now, I don't really know anything else about them, so I try and get a sense of what their situation is, whether or not they look like they've made themselves up to be there, or whether this is just how they happen to look. Whether or not, sorry, I just need to get rid of some of the last of this cat here. Whether or not they look like they're having a bad day, whether they've got a lot of angst on their mind, or whether they're looking bored, or whichever. I try and figure out what their status is.
Okay.
And if they don't look like someone who needs not to be interrupted, I think to myself, that person's attractive, so I'm attracted. Well, I'm going to go over there and find out whether I can like them. You see, most guys are so desperate for having women like them, so desperate to have someone else accept them, because men seek approval as a primary need from childhood. I don't need the approval of a random stranger. I don't need for her to tell me I'm good enough. I already know I'm good enough. I know myself really well. if I met someone who was exactly like me, or if I met me, I'd be so happy to get to know me, because all of the habits that I had had at whatever point in my life that I realized they were bad habits, like trying to out alpha other guys, trying to getting my testosterone levels all boosted up because some hot girl was there, and suddenly treating my friends as though they didn't matter so I could get a girl's attention. All of these things I thought about, and I realized, well, those are things that I wouldn't put up with in a friend. So I've got to get rid of them, because why otherwise should I expect anyone to be my friend?
Yeah.
So once I got rid of all these things about myself that I couldn't stand, I realized there were all sorts of things about myself I really did like. At which point, approaching a girl was no longer a case of going over to have her validate me. I was already valid. Now I was going over to find out if I could like her. The challenge was, I'd go over and I'd introduce myself. I'd say, hey, I'm Johnny, what's your name? Sometimes the girls would respond with something like, what do you want, fat guy? Or what do you want, old dude? Or some equally sweet commentary. And I would say, whoa, I don't know who pissed in your Cheerios this morning, honey, but I promise you it wasn't me. I just came over here because you looked interesting and I was interested in finding out more about you. Real friendly like. So why don't we start again, this time as friends. Hey, I'm Johnny, what's your name? The overwhelming response is, I'm so sorry, I don't know what came over me, I don't know why I was such a bitch to you. I said, no, you're a beautiful girl, I'm sure you get accosted constantly. I get that. But I'm actually interested in learning about you. Sure, you make the room a brighter place just by your being here. Well, let's find out what kind of a person you are. Find out whether or not we can be friends. Now, interesting thing is, of course, I've become friends with any girl I sleep with. Because after all, why would I bother investing that much energy and bringing that much to the table, for lack of a better term, if I didn't at least like them?
Yeah.
I'm way too jaded and way too established. I've been with a fantastic array of beautiful women of all varieties. These days, I can tell you, unless I like them as a person, there's very little satisfaction there.
Definitely.
We all owe a great debt to beautiful women everywhere. Because without them, masturbation would be so damn dull.
True that.
But I would far rather masturbate about fantasizing about some girl who was really beautiful than actually get to know her and discover she was lame.
Very, very, very powerful.
Now, with that in mind, you travel in the right circles, you end up with the right kind of people, you pretty much learn how to determine if someone's lame really quickly. And so this is the answer I gave to Zan, how I chose the women I go to bed with. I say, I would engage a girl in a conversation. And if 5 minutes went by and I was still interested in what she had to say, I'd go to bed with her. And Zan, of course, laughed like crazy. He said, I totally understand. If you have been spending 5 whole minutes with a girl and she's still talking and you're actually listening, boy, have you become attractive to that girl. Boy, have you been giving her something she has a really hard time finding. You've been giving her attention from a qualified potential partner. And she is so happy about this. Any deficiency, any superabundance of, for example, body fat, as I'd had for most of my life, any shortfall of hair or any other thing that someone could say is going wrong with me, suddenly fell to the wayside. Because here's one of the really, really big differences between men and women, one that I'd like to share with you because I don't think I've ever shared with you directly.
Okay.
In order for a man to become sufficiently enthusiastic to want to begin a sexual act with a woman, or with anyone for that matter, is they require this mystical combination of characteristics. They must simultaneously be attractive enough and appear willing. Attractive enough and willing. That is the magic combination for most men in order to get them to be good to go. Attractive enough is a highly subjective thing, and it changes.
Yeah.
A guy might look at a beautiful girl and say, oh, I'd never hook up with her. Look at her, she's whatever the hell it is that he's got, that's all sour grapes. Because if she actually was interested in him, all that would fall to the wayside. Attractive enough and willing. Now, every guy in the world knows that that's what it takes to turn a guy on. Attractive enough and willing. Mm-hmm. So every guy imagines that if he was a hot chick, he could get laid on the streetcar. Okay? If he was a hot girl, sex would be everywhere for him. Because if he was a hot girl, every guy would be willing. So then all that the hot girl would need would be to find someone who was attractive enough. So guys figure, when they project their own situation onto women, they figure women must have incredibly high standards. Because otherwise they would be having sex with people everywhere they went all the time. And they all know some number of girls who complain bitterly about not being able to find anyone.
Yeah.
And here's the kicker. Women are not like men in this very important way. In order for a man to become interested sufficiently to want to have sex, in order for him to be able to get a stiffy and do something with it, he needs to believe his partner to be is willing and is attractive enough. In order for a woman to physiologically go through the necessary state changes to become lubricated and prepared for a man, she needs much more than for him to be attractive enough and willing. She needs to become aroused. Okay? Now, Zan always says, men become aroused through their eyes and women become aroused through their ears. There's a lot to be said for that.
Yeah.
But ultimately, an easier way to define it is that the things that a woman requires in order to become aroused are different from girl to girl. But providing that you are not ridiculously scary homely, not having huge pustulating boils on your face, and you don't smell terrible. If you look like you own your shit, if you look like you are the person that you expect to be, and that the way you look is the way that you intended to, women are prepared to accept that. They don't need to be attracted to you before they get to know you. In fact, it's a fantastic thing. Almost every girl I've ever spent time with has eventually decided I was gorgeous and told her girlfriends about me I was gorgeous. I was never gorgeous. Never. Except to girls who'd spent a lot of time with me. Especially if they'd been to bed with me. Because men, unlike women, operate in this way very differently. A man finds novelty tremendously sexy and interesting. A woman tends to find any person whom she has thought about while she was getting off to be tremendously sexy and interesting. So here's an interesting story. I used to look an awful lot like James Gandolfini. I look a lot less like him now that I've lost about 100 pounds and he's dead. Hopefully it'll be a good long time before I look like him again. James Gandolfini was famous as one of the sexiest men in the United States. He was right up there with Brad Pitt. Why? Because he played a character on TV called Tony Soprano. Tony Soprano was not a good-looking guy. He looked no better than James Gandolfini or myself. But his character conveyed determination, fearlessness, assertiveness, self-confidence, leadership, and protection, security. It said, I'm not going to take any bullshit from anybody, but if I'm looking out for you, you're safe. That was incredibly compelling to women. So when they were alone or having sex with their partner and bored and fantasizing about someone else, or when they were masturbating on their own time, the faces of every guy they've ever met would flash in front of them. And the ones that didn't make the grade because they were too much of a kiss ass, or they were too friendly, or they tried too hard, or because they were basically creepy, or because they were someone they cared about's boyfriend, or whichever, so they would transition these guys out of their mind until they found one that they could settle in on. As soon as you, as an individual, begin to make an impression on women that is disarming, so that they lower their feeling that they must posture as being someone different than they are, and simultaneously comforting.
Mm.
So that they recognize that being with you, you're offering them acceptance in a non-judgmental format. Non-judgmental acceptance is incredibly powerful for women because they never get it. They don't get it from their friends, certainly, and they don't get it from society at large. Women are told they must in fact ignore their own desires and their own wants, because if they indulge their own desires and wants, the world will look at them as total sluts because they've given themselves away for nothing. And that proves they've got no self-respect. So as a man, you think, well, if I choose with whom I'm going to go to bed for my own purposes because I want to, that's because I have self-respect. If I decide I'm not going to settle into a regular job doing a regular thing 9 to 5 and take on responsibilities for a home, things like this, it's because I've got self-respect. I'm prepared to ignore social convention. Well, for women, if a woman ignores social convention, doesn't settle down with some man who takes responsibility for her and start having children, she's going to be beaten about by her parents, her family, her friends' parents. When are you going to start taking life seriously? When are you going to settle down? Because if she does what she wants to, pursues a career or doesn't settle down, or worse, has sex with people because she's turned on by them, because she enjoys them, instead of because she demands security from them, the world will say, wait a second, if you're not getting anything, if you're putting out but you're not bringing in, oh, that makes you a total slut. Because if you're giving yourself away for nothing, it means you've got no self-respect. Now, of course, we know that the reason you do something to suit yourself is because you do have self-respect. If you do this in spite of what society says, it's because you have so much self-respect, you're prepared to tell Mr. Manners to go fuck himself.
Yeah.
Women are exactly the same way, only they have been beaten down and made to feel guilty for indulging themselves for so long. They even buy into the idea that if they were to choose to go to bed with someone and have a good time with it, that would somehow make them a bad person. So the fact that they do this, and they do it all the time, is something they keep very quiet. Because we as men have bought into a notion I call the sexual cartel. The sexual cartel is an arrangement of women that has gone back for a time immemorial, in which women have always explained to one another that it was absolutely essential they must never make sex available for less than at least the promise of security. If the man is providing you with a roof over your head, gets your kids into a better school, drives you places, does your tax returns, fixes your brakes, whatever, as long as you're in, it's okay that you're putting out. But if you're having sex and you're not bringing in at least the promise of security, he's not telling you, I love you, I'm going to be yours forever. Which, of course, is a promise of security.
Yeah.
Then you're undercutting your hotel. You're a union scab. You're bringing down the value of all your sisters. You must not do this. If you do this, you're going to be branded in the most offensive word we've got. You're going to be called a slut. The most painful thing a woman can be called, because it undermines her security. Women crave security the way men crave approval. The most insulting, awful thing a man can be called, not an asshole, it's creepy. It's weird, an outcast, unwelcome.
Yeah.
That hurts.
Yeah.
Someone calls you creepy. Oh,
Yeah.
oh, awful. They call you a bad dude or an asshole or whatever. Get out of your blood. What does it care? Unwelcome. Okay? Someone we don't want around.
Wow.
Outcast.
Wow.
That's painful. For women, their version of security, see, for men, getting approval is our version of security. See, evolutionarily speaking, if you weren't powerful enough and dominant enough, or at least you weren't at that place in your life yet, then you knew you weren't going to be the alpha of your community. Therefore, you had to take orders from people who are higher up in the hierarchy than you are. The alpha was usually daddy. And your eldest brother, who had a masculine temperament, was probably the beta, the next biggest, next most fearsome, and the one who all the others would have to take orders from when daddy wasn't giving them a distinct other order.
Yeah.
And then we go down through the ranks, gamma, delta, epsilon, etc., all the way down to omega male. Omega male being the one who is the whipping boy, the one who, when a gamma has something he's just fought to get taken away from him effortlessly by an alpha or a beta, he goes and beats the crap out of the omega so he gets to feel better about himself.
Yeah.
And the omega takes it because the omega would rather be accepted into the community than have to go out into the wilderness on his own where he might be eaten by a bear.
Great explanation, man. Wow.
Some men have an alpha ambition and an alpha temperament, but are never able to become the alpha of their group because either the current incumbent alpha is just too powerful, or they're simply too young, or there are too many other contenders. So sometimes they have a choice. They either get the crap beat out of them because that's the way it's going to be, because they're not going to do what they're told to do. They're going to do what's to them. So either they're going to get their independent spirit beaten out of them, or they're going to recognize that the threat of going out on their own away from the family is less scary than the threat of hanging around at the family and being beaten up all the time. So they become itinerant alphas. These are the males who wander off and go lone wolf. These are the ones that the women are looking for, because you see the other men in their family are either their daddy or their brothers. They don't want to hook up with them. So they're waiting for some stranger, someone who is unfamiliar. See, familiar means having attributes of one's family.
Huh?
Familiar. And so they don't like the way daddy smells, because daddy smells like daddy. And all of their brothers, presuming that they were all born to either their own mother or some other pair-bonded mother, their stepmothers, because daddy has a whole lot of wives. Every male child born to daddy, no matter who it comes through, will always have daddy's Y chromosome, because it's the only one that was there. Right? Couldn't be from the mother. She had 2 X chromosomes. That's why she was the mother.
Okay.
So the only male chromosome has to come from daddy, and that means that the major histocompatibility complex, which is a set of alleles in a person that control their pheromonal signature, will make all of daddy's kids smell like daddy. And so sisters are not interested in someone who smells like daddy when they're fertile. When they're not fertile, no big deal. They want someone who makes them feel comforted and affected, and they want someone who makes them feel secure and confident, just like daddy.
Okay.
But for those special couple of days around the middle of their menstrual month, 14 days or so in, and therefore 14 days or so before they have their next period, their brain chemistry changes. And they go looking for someone who is distinct, not like their family. They go sperm harvesting. They may even wander away from their pair-bonded partner to go seek someone who will fertilize them during this very brief window during which they can actually become pregnant. So during this time, these are the days that women wear lower cut tops and higher heels and higher cut slips and brighter red lipstick, and they go wandering around and they're looking at other fellas. They're on the bus ride to work or in the office. They're checking every guy out. They're looking at them and going, I could do him. I could do him. I could definitely do both of them. You got to remember that for a woman, a romantic, passionate moment is not one where she meets a guy at a party, exchanges phone numbers, he calls her up a few days later, invites her out for dinner, They go out on an audition date where he tries to teach her how he's the right. No, she meets a guy. She's really hot for him because he seems to own his shit. He knows who he is. He's not embarrassed about it. All the mistakes he's made in his life, he accepts. He's made peace with all the shit he would otherwise be carrying around with him. He's left it at the side of the road. He knows who he is. He is, as you say, a real man. He no longer has to worry about other people's approval. He's made peace with the only person who really matters in his world is himself, and those people he genuinely admires. And if he finds that someone doesn't approve of what he's got in mind, he just goes on and does it without them because he doesn't need them. So this independent personality type either grows to be an independent because they're sick of not being able to do what they felt made the most sense to them, or they hated being told what to do and they just couldn't handle being in that constrained environment, so they've gone off on their own. Now, women go crazy for men like this, men who are what are classically called bad boys. To be a bad boy could be as simple as walking across a red light. I've listened to girls say, oh, he's such a bad boy. You know, he never stops it. When we're walking, he never stops at traffic lights. He pulls me through the intersection. As far as I'm concerned, stopping at a red light when there are no cars coming, when you're on foot, is tantamount to talking to yourself. However, so many women are so used to following the rules and so used to men's following the rules because men, once again, craving approval, never want to be seen to be doing something that is misbehaving. Men who own themselves and are not ashamed to be doing whatever it is that makes sense to them will misbehave because it doesn't matter. And women find men who are confident enough to misbehave incredibly sexy. Now here's another difference between men and women, and it's a significant one that you got to remember. When we're young men, we all grow up to understand something. I'm sorry if I'm taking you off of a particular...
No, this is beyond beautiful. This is generous, amazing.
The reason all my videos are free, the reason all my publications are free is because I want this information to get out there very selfishly, because I want to live in a world where there are people out there who get it.
Oh, man, I can't, words can't express my gratitude to you, really.
And listen, you never need to feel gratitude. All I want is for you to appreciate what I'm doing. If you understand why I'm doing it, then when the time comes that I need something, you will gladly do something for me because you get to, not because you feel you have a debt to me.
Yeah, I remember your explanation on gratitude now, yeah.
Gratitude invariably turns into resentment,
yes.
One or both sides.
Yes.
I don't need that kind of grief.
Yeah.
So,
excuse my language.
Totally fine. Everyone needs a refresher once in a while.
Yeah.
So, men grow up understanding that while they might want to do something, they pretty much have to do something else. And if they do that something else, the thing that is expected of them, they'll get approval. And that usually comes along with the rewards of not being thrown out of the family, not being made to go on your own, and possibly food and shelter and everything.
Yeah.
So every man understands that it's a choice between freedom and security.
Right there.
Now, every man will say he understands the difference between freedom and security. Freedom is doing what you want to do. Security is doing what you got to do. Right? Women are raised very differently from men. You see, a young girl is raised the property of her parents. Her parents are responsible for her. As long as they have her parents' last name, her parents have to look out for her. Daddy is the ultimate arbiter, because if Daddy is happy with her, the world's a wonderful place. She gets what she'd like, he takes care of her, all is well. The problem, of course, is that in order for Daddy to be happy with her, usually she has to suppress all the things she would like in favor of only doing the things that Daddy would like.
Yeah.
And women understand that this is insane. You see, women learn something very important, and that is that misbehaving is only significant if they're caught. They're all taught what daddy doesn't know won't hurt him. This empowers them to go and do what they'd like to do, and then logically equivocate. Okay? Revalue the meaning of words, so that when husband comes home and says, "You didn't sleep with anyone while I was out of town, did you?" Wife says, "Of course not. Don't be silly." Think to herself, "We were too busy fucking for any sleep." When the girl comes home having just pulled a train for the football team, jism on her breath, sticky as could be, she walks to the door at 2 a.m. Her father is there and says, "Where were you, young lady? Were you having sex?" She says, "Daddy, how could you ask such a thing? You know I don't even have a boyfriend." "Oh, I'm sorry, honey. Well, look, you take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the morning. Good night." See, she didn't have to deny that she was having sex. She just had to reframe the situation. And because she didn't have a boyfriend, didn't mean she wasn't pulling a train for a bunch of other strangers. But in Daddy's mind, not having a boyfriend means, well, she's a good girl, a nice girl. She wouldn't be having sex with anyone except her boyfriend. So women mature understanding that their job, in order to maintain their security, is to keep Daddy believing they're behaving the way he wants them to behave. That's what they do. So they have no compunction or guilt whatsoever about lying to Daddy about where they were or what they were doing. Because in their mind, it's their job. You see, not getting caught in a lie is essentially the same thing as telling the truth. Not being caught misbehaving is exactly the same thing as behaving. And this is what life teaches young women. So women are raised never to take responsibility for themselves. They're raised to evade and equivocate and dodge, so they never actually have to feel badly about things. This is how they're raised. The interesting thing is, have you ever known a woman who, when confronted about her cheating, did not immediately blame her partner?
Yeah.
This is because before a woman will cheat, she makes peace with it in her mind. She says, well, okay, I know my husband is at home, but I'm going to go back to bed with this guy and his girlfriend, because a threesome isn't cheating. Because after all, I'm not going to leave my husband for another couple. So if it has no impact on him, it's not cheating. Or she goes home with some guy knowing that she's given him a false number. Therefore, she knows she's never going to hear from him again. Therefore, her husband's not at risk of losing her. So it's not cheating. It didn't count. As I told you all in the video I recorded back in 2007, 2006, in my seductive reasoning seminar, my autobiography, which I'm still adding to, is called "The Man Who Didn't Count."
I was hoping you would mention that, man.
Because as I say, I am friends with basically everyone I go to bed with. None of them think about me as just a friend. And none of them think about me as boyfriend material. Because they know I'm not going to pick up their contract. I'm not going to be the man who puts his last name in place of Daddy's last name, and therefore is the person to whom they have to lie. Because Daddy transitions into hubby pretty easily. And as soon as she understands that the source of all the security in her world is hubby, just like it was with Daddy, and she can do anything she likes as long as she keeps hubby believing that she's being well behaved, just as it was with Daddy. So women are raised not to take responsibility for themselves. They're raised to expect someone else to pick up the pieces when they fuck something up. So, the only women I'm interested in are the ones who do believe in taking care of themselves, who do recognize they make their own decisions, they accept the consequences of those decisions. However, You sometimes need to talk with women for a while before they recognize that they've been duped into believing they were supposed to not be responsible for themselves. The truth is, authority and responsibility are exactly the same thing. You cannot be responsible for anything you have no control over. If your boss says you better make sure it's sunny on the picnic on Wednesday, go talk to your lawyer about constructive dismissal. You can never be responsible for anything you do not have authority over. This includes, for example, your girlfriend or wife's moods. Your girlfriend says, I'm not happy. You say, how can I help? Don't go out of your way to try and make her happy. You can't. You might be able to please her in the moment, but her happiness is her business.
Yeah, I've learned that lesson.
And women desperately hate a man who goes out of his way to make them happy. A woman does not want a man who will bend to suit her whim. She wants a man who is stable and solid and will not bend. Someone who's prepared to say no. Someone who's prepared to say, no, but if it really matters to you, this time, I'm prepared to make an exception as a favor, if that's what you'd like. Because a man who makes a woman confirm a contract of appreciation. In other words, oh, baby, I'm going to go wearing this tutu to the company Christmas party. I'd like you to join me in a ballerino outfit. Guy goes, no. Oh, no, it's going to be fun. We have such a good time. Oh, all right. Well, the girl loses all respect for him because he's completely caved. If he says no, 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 and she still pesters him, look, if it's important enough to you that you want to ask me to do it for you as a favor, okay. You're important enough for me. I'll do it for you as a favor. Watch how infrequently a girl will actually ask you for something as if, oh, look, if you don't want to do it, that's just fine. That's wonderful passive-aggressive manipulation, and women have been raised to use that too.
Yeah.
You say, look, it's as simple as this. If you ask me for this, I've already told you, I'll say yes. If you don't ask me for it, I promise you it's not going to happen. Simple as could be. This happens even with Violet, my best friend and my very favorite bedmate, and the girl I've been living with for 8 years, and it's been glorious. Sometimes she'll be in a really PMS-y mood or have had whatever happened to her that didn't make her happy, and she's in a bad place, and I tell her, I'm going to go out and hook up with someone. Usually I say, I'm going to go out and catch up with Gary, we're going to play some billiards or something. She'll say, you're going to go out and pick up some girl and go to bed with her, I know. I'll say, well, that wasn't actually what was in my mind, but sure, that's always a possibility. Fine, you're just going to leave me here while I'm in such a bad place. Baby, if you'd like me to, I can call Gary and cancel. No, you want to go do your thing. I don't want you to resent me. More passive aggression. I said, baby, if you'd like me to tell you, I won't go to bed with someone else tonight, specifically because it will make you feel better knowing that I'm not doing that. All you have to do is ask me for that as a favor. And I'll say yes. No, you do what you're going to do. That's fine. I say, baby, I was originally going to go out and spend time with Gary playing billiards. If you don't ask me not to go out and get wildly fucked by some teenage girl or some group of them, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to blow off Gary and go out and pick up some beautiful young girls and entertain them. Unless you tell me you'd like me not to. She'll look at me, say, I'd like you not to. I say, fine, I'm happy to do this for you as a favor. No problem at all. I'm going to go out and play billiards with Gary, and I will not bring someone home or pick someone else up or whatever, just because I want you to feel comfortable. She'll say, thank you so much, baby. I love you so much. I say, no worries. Because I wasn't originally planning to go out and get laid. That wasn't my goal. Always a possibility. I'm going to meet someone interesting, have a good conversation, and decide, you know what, we've been talking for 5 minutes. I'm still interested in what she's got to say.
Yeah. That's beautiful explanation. Very important shift.
So Violet is totally fine with my hooking up with other girls. She recorded this wonderful little video that we put up on YouTube and Facebook that has her explaining to anyone who's going to be one of my potential playmates that she's totally fine with it and our relationship completely supports it. I used to carry around little videos in my cell phone so girls could see this, just to give them a context.
Yeah.
I never ever allow anyone to think that I'm going to be their boyfriend. I'm Violet's boyfriend. She's the only one who can consider me to be her capital B boyfriend.
Yeah.
I'll play the role of boyfriend for girls from time to time, but I won't take on that title, nor will I treat them with the title of my girlfriend. They can be a girlfriend, that's great. Violet knows what... Violet has met almost every girlfriend of mine in North America and some of the ones overseas. She's licked my semen off the faces of most of them and certainly kissed and made out with all of them. It's wonderful having a girlfriend who's both rabidly bisexual and tends to like the same kind of girls you do.
Yes, it is.
I strongly recommend finding someone like that for
Thank you, Johnny.
Now, in any event, even Violet will get moments of passive aggressiveness and moments of trying to manipulate me into giving in. But I know that if I gave in, she would look at me as tragic and weak. The Tony Soprano character never gave in to his little girlfriends. He told them how it was going to be. They wanted something, they asked for it, he was happy to give it to them. If he didn't want it, it was no, and they understood. And women really like someone who sets out the parameters very clearly. I want to be able to have as much freedom as I can, but I want to know when I'm stepping over the line, because if I feel I'm doing something that is disrespectful of you, and you don't call me on it, I'll lose all respect for you.
That's a big point guys need to get.
That's crippling, because a woman cannot be turned on by someone she doesn't respect. This is why when a guy finds himself in the friend zone, he gets more and more tragic and more pathetic as he tries to demonstrate what a good friend he can be, hoping that someday she's going to wake up and go, but he could also be a good lover. But what she's actually discovered is, oh, how great it is that I don't have to have any respect for this guy. He's going to be my emotional tampon and carry my groceries and pay for things and go from one boyfriend's house to another in the middle of the night when it's raining. Because
Oh, man.
What she wants is a man who's prepared to stand up for himself, who's happy to do something for her as a favor once in a while, but will never allow her to feel or be disrespectful of him. If you ask any woman if she understands herself at all, you say, what is it you really want? What is it that you crave in a man? She'll generally not be able to tell you this, but she'll tell you she wants a man who's just himself. Just be yourself. What she's actually saying is she desperately wants a man who doesn't feel he's got anything left to prove. She desperately wants a man who accepts himself and therefore is not prepared to pretend he's something else. She wants a man who is self-appreciating, self-respecting, self-loving, interested in her as an individual and loving of women in general, who is comfortable enough and confident enough to lead them both on the adventures she would enjoy. When she finds a man who is self-respecting, self-loving, confident, masculine, and affirmative, who is interested in her as an individual and clearly appreciates women as a gender.
Yeah.
If he wants to lead her, she will gladly follow him anywhere. Another way that women are different from men, women have evolved to crave a masculine leader. It doesn't have to actually be male. It can be a very, very masculine woman. They crave someone who is self-confident and self-comfortable enough to lead. Now, the thing is, women will intuitively and automatically follow the lead of whomever it is that they're interfacing. So if a girl meets a guy and he walks up to her and she can sense he doesn't like himself much, she's going to follow his lead and not like him much. She meets a guy who thinks he's a total shitheel, she's going to think he's a total shitheel too. But if she meets a guy who thinks he's excellent, thinks he's worthy of her, she's going to follow his lead and think he's worthy of her as well. This is why when I was 340 pounds, I looked like the Michelin Man. I was pulling Playboy models and actresses, and just whomever. Why? Because when I walked up to them, there was not any part of me that thought I wasn't good enough. There wasn't any part of me that walked up to them thinking, I need you to validate me, so I'm going to kiss your ass until you tell me I'm good enough. The entire thing was always, hey, I'm Johnny, what's your name? And then I'd spend a little time learning about them. If they were bright and funny and they appreciated my sense of humor, we'd escalate, we'd start talking about things, and we'd start talking about this thing I refer to as the seductive reasoning model.
Yeah.
I try to empower women with the notion that, in fact, they're doing what they want to do is not only appropriate and correct, but nothing to feel guilty about. In fact, denying themselves pleasures to suit people whom they don't care about.
Yeah.
That's something they should feel ashamed of.
Yeah.
So I help them to reframe things so that they recognize that in that nasty juxtaposition of our society, in which all women can be delineated as either sluts or whores, isn't that a wonderful thing we do for women? We say, if you give yourself away for nothing, you're a slut. If you charge for it, you're a whore. So if you're bringing something in, you're a whore. However, we give them this out. We have this nasty four-letter word to describe a woman who says, well, I'm not going to give myself away for nothing. But I'm not just going to give myself away for a little bit. I need a commitment of a lifetime of economic support for myself and my children, whom you will no doubt presume are your own. We have a nasty four-letter word for her. We call her a wife. A wife is a contract whore. One who says, I'm only prepared to put out as long as I'm bringing in. And once I know I've got a contract that says I'm bringing in, I don't even have to put out anymore. Now, you see, no woman actually wants to be a wife. She grows up thinking she wants to be a wife.
Yeah.
She certainly grows up knowing she wants a wedding. She wants to get married. She doesn't want to be married. Being married sucks. Being married is living at home with daddy again. She has to watch her step and not get caught doing the things she wants to do all the time. Okay? No girl wants to be a wife. She doesn't want to be married. She wants to get married.
She wants the fairy tale.
Exactly. She wants the wedding. She wants to be celebrated. I want to spend my time with women who've recognized there is no glory in that. There is no happiness unless they are one of the incredibly few who actually has married the right person. And here's the challenge for that. Have you ever read or heard, do you know that 50% of first marriages end in divorce?
No, I heard it was a big number.
50% in North America and Western Europe of first marriages end in divorce. 70% of second marriages end in divorce. Of course, the other option is the marriage ends in death, so give them the choice. But anyway, on a serious note, 50% of first marriages end in divorce. Why is it so high? I will tell you in one sentence. Almost everyone marries a stranger.
Wow. That's a bold statement.
Almost everyone marries someone who, through the entire courtship, pretended to be the way they believed their partner needed them to be. Okay? You've seen me with Violet. There's nothing I would ever say that would be any different if Violet was sitting right next to me.
No, not. When I see you at your live events and you're talking, I mean, yeah, your demeanor and nothing changes about you. It doesn't matter who's there, who's not there. You're you.
This is it. I am as I am.
Yeah.
This is very powerful. It's very telling to other people. They look for a place they can push in on the holes in me, but I can't seem to find them myself.
Yeah. Just to let me chime in. There's a man of integrity. That's what integrity is, complete transparency.
And this is the key to a good relationship. A good relationship has to have the openness in the sense of glasnost, okay? Like in the former Soviet Union, transparency, nothing hidden. Violet knows everything about me. I don't keep anything secret. She keeps nothing secret. Open doesn't have to do with open fly or open legs. It has to do with open communication. If your beloved said to you, I'm going to go out with a bunch of my girlfriends and see this new chick flick at the cinema, I'll be home late, don't wait up, you'd say, have a great time, baby, really enjoy yourself, I'm really glad you're doing this, and I'm really, really glad I don't have to be a participant.
Yeah.
If Violet says to me, I'm going to hang out with a bunch of guys over at the racquetball club because a bunch of the fellas on their rugby team are coming over and I'm going to have sex with them all, I say, have a great time, baby, call me if you need anything, I'll be here when you get home. I'm really glad you're doing this if this is something you'd like to do and is going to make you happy. I'm really glad I don't have to be a participant. I love Violet. I need for Violet to do whatever it takes for her to feel actualized and affirmed and valid. And anything that I would deny her demonstrates that I don't care enough about her.
Beautiful, Bill. Beautiful.
Jealousy is your ego fucking with you, saying, if you gave your beloved the right to choose, she wouldn't choose you. Now, if it was true, your beloved wouldn't choose you, if she's really your beloved, why would you want to force her to be with you?
Yeah.
That's not love. See, jealousy is this fucked up compound emotion. A compound emotion isn't a primary emotion, it's a secondary one. The primary emotion is fear of loss. The second primary emotion is rage, anger at having to fear loss.
Wow.
That combination of rage and fear of loss is jealousy. Because that's what it is. Fear of loss and anger at having to feel that way. So jealousy is something that, if you stop and think about it, is tremendously immature.
Yeah.
Because if you truly love your beloved, you'll want whatever it is that suits her best. Even if that's some other fella tonight, or maybe even if she has to move on. Because the idea of forcing someone you love to exist in misery will ensure that you also live in misery. Because the central tenet of worthwhile love is that the other person's happiness and welfare is intrinsic to your own.
Exactly.
So, as I was saying, the relationship that endures is a relationship that has true honesty. No one has hidden anything about themselves from their partner. They've had enough respect for themselves to stand up if they're going to do something. I always say, stand up or shut up. Don't pretend you're not the person you are. That will always make you weak.
Yeah.
If you're going to do it, do it.
Beautiful.
Second thing is, when you are doing whatever it is, you need to have enough respect for other people to offer them Hobson's choice. Hobson's choice, take it or leave it. This is the way I'm going to have things. If this doesn't work for you, I'll understand. But this is not an option, I'm telling you. I'm going to be this person. This is who I am. If you can deal, great. If you can't, I'll accept that. And if you go away and you come back 6 weeks later having realized that you actually needed to accept it because you couldn't live without me, I'll be exactly the same person. Nothing will have changed.
Yeah.
I am exactly as I appear. So when girls say, just be yourself, what they want is a man who is the man he is. And it's so easy to be the man you are when you realize the only people you should want in your world are the ones that feel you deserve them and that you feel you deserve.
Yeah.
Anyone who wants something greater than he feels he deserves is asking for misery. Let's imagine, what's your dream car?
My dream car?
Yeah.
Bugatti.
Okay. Let's say I gave you a Bugatti as a gift, presuming that you could afford to pay the insurance on it. Anywhere you parked it, you'd be constantly worried about someone's ripping it off, someone's keying it out of spite, whatever.
Yeah.
When should you get a Bugatti? When you could afford to buy it and afford to replace it if you needed to. If anything you've got that you can't easily walk away from owns you. So, I never worry about when Violet's out on her own or with other guys or doing anything. I never worry when she's shooting porn with guys with tremendous bodies and units like this. Never worry about it. Why? Because I know that either I'm the person that Violet wants to come back to, or I want her to do what she actually does desire.
Yeah.
And the thing is, so much more powerful than any wedding vow or piece of paper or jewelry is the fact that every goddamn night, if we're in the same city, we're in the same bed, by choice, again and again and again, despite the fact that each one of us knows the other one would have no trouble at all finding someplace else to sleep.
Yeah.
So, what could be a greater testament to our loving friendship than the fact that 8 years in, she's still my favorite?
Yeah, and one of the most romantic couples anyone will ever see.
Interesting. We're romantic in the sense of we have the appearance of romance. But there's no romance, because romance is based on self-deception.
Okay, yeah, wrong word.
No, it's fine. I let Zan get away with it. I'll let you get away with it too. It's true. Everyone sees us and they think we're either newlyweds or we're still in the infatuation phase of our relationship. We both see each other exactly the way we are. We know the aspects of each other that are not terribly desirable, and we embrace and accept those. We appreciate the person for who they are without any denial. I know who I am. I know who Vi is. She knows who I am. She knows who she is. We accept each other for who we are. There is no toleration. Because to tolerate something means first you presume that in your judgmental mind it's unacceptable, but then you say you're going to allow it anyway.
Oh, okay. I'm very well put.
I do not tolerate anything. I either accept it or I can't accept it. If I can't accept it, I go away. If I can accept it, it is what it is. Fine. I don't bring upon myself responsibility for anything I have no control over. So, if I'm not responsible for it, I don't presume I have authority over it. It is what it is. I accept that. Our workshops in Vegas, I take responsibility for making certain that everyone's delighted. I mean, as you know, I offer what amounts to be a lifetime money-back guarantee.
Yeah.
Okay. How can I do this? Simplest thing in the world. I say, come to the workshop, we're going to blow your mind. But your ego is very likely to fight back. Because your ego is really, really dedicated to not challenging your preconceptions. Your ego is really married to those things that it's always known, or it's known for so long it can't even remember why it knows it. Your ego is very dedicated to preventing anything from changing its paradigms.
Yeah.
Because the only way it makes any sense is based on those paradigms. Since almost everything I'm going to work with on all these guys, all the stuff I've worked with you with, is about...
Sorry, just one sec. My mom's, my friend's mom's calling me. One sec.
It'll happen.
I'm working on the phone.
Ah, how wonderful. how wonderful it is to be able to travel, to ditch all your stuff, not be beholden to anyone, and be able to travel the world without having to worry.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And I'm getting taken care of by now. My friend's mom cooks for me, and she was worried that I was hungry. So, sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, not at all, not at all. So, any idea what I was talking about?
Yeah, preconceptions, ego.
Right. Mark Twain said it brilliantly. He said it is far easier to convince someone of something. Oh, sorry. It is far easier to convince someone of something false than it is to convince them that they have been fooled. Okay? It's much easier to fool someone than to convince them they've been fooled.
I like it.
Very, very hard to get a person to recognize that, wait a second, all this time I've been operating under something as an absolute fact, and if I stop and think about it, I don't know why I know it's an absolute fact.
Yeah, that's a big part of your seminar, is just breaking all those preconceptions. And then you come out.
Hey, listen, I'll tell you, like I said, my workshops work like this. I say, whether it's my annual one, the one in Vegas, or any of my workshops throughout the year, it's always the same deal. Come in, do the workshop. I'll be available as support for the next indefinite amount of time. I've always been available because I enjoy everyone I work with. My purpose is making friends. So I help craft them into the person that they want to be. You're not a pipsqueak version of me. You're a full-size version of you. I don't want little versions of me. I want full-size versions of themselves.
Exactly. You help men discover their own selves and be their own man.
And I love them all. It's so easy to be around people who have no competition. Have you ever felt there was any competition amongst any of the people at any of the workshops? No.
All I feel is a deep, supportive brotherhood and a big, huge, warm embrace and encouragement and people lifting each other up. Man.
It's pretty good, huh?
Magical. It's really incredible. Maybe we could transition now to. I think a lot of guys are. They're online. They're watching all these YouTube videos. They're buying these products and stuff. I want to let me just talk to the guys. Like, a turning point for my life, in regards to women and getting good with women, was when I went to Johnny's workshop. I didn't know Johnny from a hole in the wall, but someone recommended him. I took a leap of faith. I went there, and my whole mindset changed. My whole like, if I was going this way, now I'm going this way. Everything I preach to you guys originated at Johnny's workshop. There's a massive difference between doing stuff online and gathering of information online, rather than going to an event, meeting someone who's experienced and who has integrity, and then from there, live events is where you grow and you have a breakthrough before you're hitting a wall. So maybe if you could put in your own words, what is the benefit of live? Because I really want to encourage these guys, go for it.
Well, okay, let me put it this way. The simplest thing to say is, I could write the world's greatest book on teach yourself to swim. And you could read through it 100 times. And until you hit the water the first time, you can't swim. I could also write the greatest book ever on riding a bicycle across a high wire. Okay? Teach yourself to walk across a high wire. I strongly encourage people, the first time they walk across a high wire, it should be 1 foot off the ground. Don't try and walk across Niagara Falls. All sorts of stuff that works brilliantly in theory, your ego will keep fucking with you. It'll keep bashing at you through emotional messages that make you feel terrified and keep you from broadcasting your sense of self to other people. So all sorts of stuff that I can do effortlessly, that go over beautifully, a person who tries to mimic me will fall flat on his face. I've said this to people lots of times. You could follow me around for a month without talking with me, copy every word you heard me say exactly the same words and the same inflections to other people, and you would not get the responses I get. Zan could use my words. Steve Pickus could use my words. But neither of them ever would, because what would be the point? They've got their own words.
Yeah.
As soon as a person becomes solid enough that the things I say would sound normal coming out from them, they can use their own words. This is why I don't publish scripts and lay reports and field reports or whatever.
Yeah.
Because doing what I do and saying what I say will not get you what I get until you are the person you are, in which case sharing yourself as freely as I do will get you exactly what you're after. So why come to the workshop? Well, aside from getting to work with guys like Jamie Smart, Zan, Adam Lyons, Bravo, Steve Pickus, Steve Pavlina, just oodles and oodles of some of the best personal development people. Erica Awakening, this year again, Madison Messina will be there. She's absolutely stunning. She's a psychologist and professional escort from Australia.
Oh.
And she is very beautiful and very high profile and makes a lot of money in both as a sex counselor, as a psychologist, and as an escort.
Oh.
And she's adorable and brilliant, and I will leave it at that. Now, why come to an event like this? Because you get to meet all sorts of people who are either at the same place you are, which is either trying to get rid of old pickup artist paradigms that make it impossible for you to be the person you are. You'll be too busy trying to be the way you imagine you need the other person to see you. So it's so much easier when you get to talk to people about your situation and everyone goes, yeah, I know what you mean, man. I've had something very similar, and they get to talk about it. It's almost like being with a bunch of girls, none of whom are trying to outpace each other or demonstrate that they're cooler or better, but everyone's simply sharing their experiences so that you get a chance to look at it from the outside and say, bah, why were you doing something that stupid? And then looking at yourself with what you've been doing and going, bah, why was I doing something that stupid?
Well.
One of the interesting things I talk about a lot is something I refer to as Marx's paradox, named for the brilliant American philosopher Groucho Marx. He's the guy who said, I never belonged to any club that would have a guy like me as a member. Every man is raised from childhood understanding this, that he can never possibly be good enough for the women he's interested in. You see, you don't take that with you when you go looking for a job saying, well, I'm never going to work for any boss who'd be stupid enough to hire me. You don't look at your friends and say, I'd never have a friend who had the bad judgment to have me as a friend. But you do think that any girl I'm good enough for is clearly not good enough for me, because you expect a girl to play hard to get. So after all, if she doesn't play hard to get, she's too easy. Okay? I bet there are an awful lot of guys out there in the audience who have, from time to time, hooked up with a girl and then thought, wow, she was too easy. Instead of realizing the reason she chose to go to bed with you was because there was something about your personality, something about the way you were. Not the way you pretended to be, not the way you were posturing yourself to be, but the way you actually were, that was satisfying to her. So instead of saying, wow, this girl's got great judgment, this girl recognizes all the years I've put into becoming the man I am right now, that was a good investment.
Yeah.
She thinks that way. So instead of thinking she's great, I think, oh, wow, she's too easy. Because if she was prepared to fuck me, she's got to be prepared to fuck anybody. Instead of recognizing that people will make the decision on you based on the person you are, not how you look, not the size of your wallet, not your job, but how you treat other people, how you behave when you're alone, what you say and whether you mean it. These are the things that demonstrate your integrity. Are you a congruent person? Are the words that come out of your mouth congruent with the actions? Are you the person you appear to be? I constantly tell people the simplest things in the world to remember are piss when you can, don't go anywhere to have a bad time, and never do anything you wouldn't do. Simple, elegant things. I never go anywhere to have a bad time. If a girl says, oh, listen, I'm going to go to this awful wedding with these people I can't stand, I say, why are you going to go? Oh, I've got to. I said, well, if you're going to go to have a good time. Make it fun.
Yeah.
If you're going to bother, enjoy it. I'll come with you. We'll make it fun. Don't go anywhere to have a bad time. You can have a bad time at home. Piss when you can. That's so simple and elegant, everyone should understand it. Because there may be moments when you've got to, you wish
you can't.
Just before we got on camera, that was what I did.
Smart move. So did I.
Then finally, never do anything you wouldn't do.
I like that
Anything that you wouldn't do, anything that does not make sense to you psychologically, emotionally, intellectually, and philosophically, you're going to regret. And doing something, knowing you're going to regret it, well, that's just insane. What could be stupider than doing something that you know you're going to regret? Different story. Say, hey, I'm going to go out and party my ass off and get drunk and wind out in an alleyway somewhere. Great. Are you going to regret it? No. I'm going to make sure I leave my keys at home. Someone else is going to let me into my place. I've got my health card, my health insurance with me, and my address in my wallet. So, worst thing happens, I'm going to end up in a ditch. But I'll be okay. Am I going to regret it? No, I did this because I wanted to. Great, have a good time. But to go out and do something that isn't you, you're standing in a bookstore, the guy behind the counter says, I'll be back in a moment, I have to use the washroom. So he leaves, and you realize he's left the cash register open. You think, wow, I could take all that money and go. Well, if it's something you'd be comfortable with doing, then go for it. If it's something that you can make peace with yourself on, hey, go for it. I'm not going to tell you not to. If it's something where you know you'd regret it, don't do it. It's not you. Never do anything you wouldn't do. Because if you do, boy, will it come back to haunt you. Just awful.
Yeah.
So like I'm saying, my whole purpose is bringing guys together, sharing a whole lot of insights with them, and getting them to step through things one by one on their own until they get to a place where I say to them at the end of the week, so, can you imagine meeting some hot girl who likes you enough to go to bed with you and then deciding she was too easy and we wouldn't call her again? They go, it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. You ever done that? And they go, oh my God, I can't believe I used to do that.
Big paradigm shift.
Because all great truths encounter three stages. First, they are ridiculed. Next, they are violently opposed. And finally, they are accepted as self-evident. I have a lot of fun. My students come to my workshop, sometimes on the 7th, 8th day, the end of the week. And by the way, I have the same deal with everyone. I say 30 days after the completion of the workshop, if you're not utterly convinced it was some of the best money you've ever invested in yourself, I'll give you your money back. That's it, simple as that. You asked for it, you got it. Some guys will ask me on the 7th day or 8th day that they're having terrible time fighting with the stuff that I've placed into their mind for them to work with. And I'll say, look, you're saying you're angry, you want a refund, no problem. I'm going to write you a check for 30 days from today. Please call me up a couple of days before so I can make sure to put money in there so it'll clear. If at any time over the next 30 days you want to talk about anything, give me a shout. I'm happy to work you through this. But my experience is I have helped to put things into your head that are founded in irrefutable evidence.
Yes.
Presented with inescapable logic that leads to inescapable, undeniable conclusions. So I've got this in your head. Now you're going to go away and your ego is going to fight tooth and nail to keep you from changing your old paradigm. But when your ego is quiet and not busy and doing anything, your mind is going to change itself on its own. Everything will crystallize on its own, and then you'll have a eureka moment where everything will suddenly make sense. And I'm going to hope before you cash this check in 30 days, I get a call from you saying, you've torn up the check, you understand I was right. And almost every time, that's what's happened. I've had, I think, 4 refunds and 500 students. And I'm fine with that. All I ask is you do the workshop with the best intentions, you do the whole workshop, and at the end of the workshop, if 30 days later you have not made peace with everything I've shared, to the point where you cannot believe you used to think about things the way you used to, I'll give you your money back. Now the other part that's really cool is, as everyone knows, anyone who comes to any of my workshops, anywhere in the world, who completes one of my workshops, is welcome to attend my future workshops at no cost.
Yes, sir. That's an awesome, awesome gift.
It's a gift to me. Do you know how much easier it is for new guys to get it when they're surrounded with guys who are full of integrity, confidence in themselves, demonstrating, yeah, I used to be you, now I'm me. You can be you.
Yeah. It's so encouraging. I mean, you go there, it's just so, as I said before, it's like a huge, warm embrace of real men and beautiful ladies too. And just, it's a safe place where no one has anyone who really cares about this, about helping them, about, people feel alone and isolated, and where can I get this help? Like you create that environment, which is, it's so unique and so magical. Like, it's crazy. It's really amazing.
Thank you, and I thank you for participating, because every time it gets better and better as the people return.
Yeah.
Another thing that's interesting about my workshops that's, I think, pretty much unique. I invite people, as you know, not only to take notes, but to tape record or videotape the entire workshop, at least my portions of it. I can't say you can record Steve Pickus's stuff or whatever else. He can say that, usually he does, but all of the stuff that I'm sharing, I invite people to take with them and share with other people. Teach it anywhere they can. The world becomes a better place as people start understanding that the bullshit we've all been raised with is what keeps it impossible to succeed in our game of life. And the best thing about the true rules of the game of life, the best thing about the actual game of life, is in order for all of us to win, nobody else has to lose. We can all win at the same time.
That's a powerful message, man.
I don't ever need anything that someone else needs. There's nothing in such short supply. You see, someone else could say, I need Violet. Only what Violet needs comes into play.
Yeah.
If Violet needs me, I'm here. If Violet needs me and another dude, I'm still here, because I also need Violet. It just means that I'll have lots more time to spend with other people.
Yeah.
So there is nothing that is so limited that I could imagine that it could own me. There's nothing that enslaves me, because I could walk away from anything and find something really satisfying somewhere else. The things that I love, I treasure. I'll do anything to protect and help. But if they stop wanting to be there, I'll do nothing to prevent them from going and searching for what they need. And I'll let them know my door swings both ways. Come back anytime. You'll always be welcome. The only thing I ever ask is, do not allow your ego to act as though I was ever unfair or dishonest with you. I always let you know the score. I've always been the same person. 25 years ago, I was a pathological liar, because the true stories I told, nobody was prepared to believe. So I made shit up.
Wow.
I had a temporarily terminal car accident, which is where this scar on my forehead comes from. And when I woke up some weeks later, I was not the same person anymore. Things had changed. And as I rebuilt myself into the person that I had always wanted to be, I realized that I was not prepared to lie for anyone.
Wow.
I'm not prepared. I mean, you tell me that your wife's looking for you and you're out someplace. I'll tell you at my place playing poker if that's what you need, because that's true.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, work it out with your wife. You shouldn't have this kind of problem. What I mean is, I'm not prepared to pretend I'm anything different than I am for anybody. Certainly not from my best friend and lover. They've got to take me as I am because this is how I am. I'm not going to be any other way. I have enough respect for myself. I will not pretend to be anything I'm not. I have enough respect for them that I will not pretend to them that I'm something I'm not. This way, everyone can make an informed decision. I never ever want anyone to regret anything they've done with me. So, I lay it on the table. The way I figure it is, I'm playing cards, and I've got a hell of a hand. So much so, that I'll play it with the face cards up. I'll flip the hand over.
Oh.
I figure I got a winning hand. And you can bet against me, or you can bet with me.
Awesome, man. I love your analogies, your metaphors.
So, the answer to the question you were asking before, why come out to this sort of thing? Because there's all sorts of stuff that you can only get by experiencing it firsthand.
Yes, sir. That sums it up. They have to go. Can't just stay behind your computer and browse Google and YouTube and expect to have a breakthrough in your life.
See, I don't teach pickup. I teach people how to be the person they are. And then, when you become the person you are, what you'll do becomes self-evident. The beautiful part is, I'll help people learn certain things that, in terms of technique, are very liberating. You've watched me. I'm one of the most sexually flirtatious and direct people ever.
Yes, sir.
Other guys go, I can't believe he could make that joke in front of a total stranger. And the girls are eating it up. Why? Because there is such a tremendous broadcasting from me of my self-acceptance and my harmlessness that they recognize. When I say, hey, you know what a girl does first thing when she gets home from the battered women's shelter? The dishes, if she knows what's good for her. They love it. If I say, I'll be flirting with some waitress at some place, and I'll say, you're lovely. If you don't mind my asking, how old are you? She'll say, 24. I'll say, 24. You know what the really challenging part is about making love with 24-year-olds? She'll say, what? I'll say, it's exhausting. There are 20 of them. 24-year-olds. Yes, it's horrifying, and the girls will lose it laughing their ass off. However, and I've watched other students walk out and try and use this stuff. You're not there yet. These are my words coming out of your mouth. It's not right. When my words come out of your mouth without your thinking about it, it's because they're now your words.
Yep.
I'm sure you've had the experience of things that I have shared with you, you have shared with other people almost verbatim. And then thought, wait a second. But then, of course, you translate it and make it more your own because it is yours.
Yeah.
All this stuff I'm sharing, that's what I'm doing. I'm sharing a lifetime of examination of the human condition, starting with recognizing that if you follow the rules as they're laid out by society, there is no opportunity to win.
Wonderful.
So you've got to figure out what rules do and which ones don't apply to you. And you've got to live by the rules that you accept. That's why I say never do anything you wouldn't do. Because if it does not make sense to you emotionally, so that you're not unsettled by your emotion, intellectually, so that you know it makes sense, and in your conscience, which is your psychology and your philosophy, if your conscience is not telling you no, 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 then go ahead. Any decision you make, if you follow that simple thing, which I like to call reasoned confidence,
Okay.
where you first check, does it make sense in my mind? Have I got enough data to be able to make a good decision? Yes? Okay. How do I feel about it? If I'm still not comfortable, I'm going to send a message from my mind to my emotions. I'm going to say, okay, I think this works. Okay, You relax, I think this is going to be okay. You think about it a little longer, or you feel about it a little longer. You see, a lot of people don't understand this. Your emotions are perfectly reasonable, totally rational. They're just not logical. This means they can't speak to you in words, you cannot communicate with them in words. But they sure can communicate with you.
Yes.
And your emotions, they come to their conclusions way faster than your reasoning mind does. There are things you'll pick up. You'll realize someone just creeps you out. You can't explain why. Go with that. Recognize that there may be something there. Try and figure out whether or not it's nothing. If it starts to go away on its own, when you stop feeling that creepy feeling, great, embrace that person. Otherwise, wait. You got to think about this. The first man who ever jumped out of a flying airplane, he had to have spent an awful lot of time doing experiments with bags of silk and rope, tossing things out of airplanes. And when he finally got to the point where he was ready to put himself into a parachute or into a plane with a parachute on his back, he had to override his primal fear, his fear of falling. He had to walk out towards the exit from the airplane, and he had to be totally comfortable intellectually, and he had to have been able to relax his emotions to the point that we're not making him crap his pants. He had to believe that this was going to work. First time he jumped out of an airplane, I'm sure he was terrified. Second time, probably too. By the 10th time, it was just a job. First time, you walk to some beautiful girl you find interesting and who you might have previously felt was out of your league because you misunderstood what she was actually looking for, was actually a guy who liked himself.
Man, you're awesome. Yeah.
You walk up to some beautiful girl and you start a conversation with her, and at first she's a little weirded out because you're not what she would have expected. Because what she's used to is guys who walk up to her going, "Oh my God, you're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. I'd do anything to get with you," which of course is not appealing.
Yeah.
Or, "Oh my God, I'm the coolest guy you've ever met. You've got no idea how cool and impressive I am. In fact, oh my God, your eyes are exactly the same color as my brand new Porsche," which is also not satisfying. In fact, let me give a comment to the entire audience. Everyone listening, I want you to memorize this. Anytime you do anything, either to appear impressive or even to be impressive to someone else, you're demonstrating to that person that their opinion of you is more important than your opinion of you. This is never an attractive thing. I'm never trying to impress anybody. Truth is, I'm damned impressive, in part because I'm not bothering to try and impress anyone. I've already made the grade, you see. I'm a transcendent alpha. I've transcended the need to convince other people they have to follow me, because I no longer have any urge to have them follow me. I'm just going to do what makes sense to me. Other people will follow me. I'll say, "Guys, I'm not leading you," because to lead you means I take authority over you, and that means I take responsibility for you. And I'm sorry, I'm not prepared to do that. You're welcome to follow me, but I'm not leading, I'm just going. So if, for example, we go to a nightclub, and I get into the nightclub, don't expect me to not go into it if you can't get into the nightclub. I'm not bringing you with me, I'm just going. Now, where I have taken responsibility for other people, I've decided I'm going to get us all into this nightclub, then that's what's going to happen. They know to expect this of me. But I won't let a person expect of me anything that I am not prepared to validate. There are 3 aspects to expectation management, and these are the secret to an ongoing, happy, fulfilled life. First, you have to manage your expectations of yourself, so that you do not allow yourself to expect anything you have not demonstrated to yourself is within your grasp. You should expect of yourself the very best you've been able to prove to yourself you can do, and maybe a little more if you try extra hard. And each day you should be trying to prove to yourself that you are that person and able to be the person that you expect yourself to be. This is where self-satisfaction comes from. Your self-esteem is appropriately high and matched to your self-confidence. What you expect of yourself is matched to what you've demonstrated to yourself. As long as you're at that place, you'll feel you've arrived. You'll feel self-satisfied. You'll feel accomplished. And sure, you know that every day you can move further and further towards a goal. But if you set your goal unrealistically high and you expect it of yourself, you'll always feel you're failing.
Wow, this is a very powerful point. Yeah.
The next part is, the second part of expectation management, is managing other people's expectations of you in their minds. Do not allow another person to project onto you expectations. If your mother says, you could have been a neurosurgeon, say, yeah, Mom, you're absolutely right, and thank you so much. I know I could have been, and if I wanted to be, I'm sure I would have been a hell of a neurosurgeon. But I also knew that I didn't want to be a neurosurgeon. If I pursued that just for the fame or the fortune, I'd be a miserable man.
Yeah.
And I know that what you've always wanted from me was for me to be a person living the life I wanted and self-satisfied and actualized. So I need you to understand that I don't think you've failed as a parent. You didn't buy a neurosurgeon kit. You had a child. And you've empowered me to do the things that make sense to me and make me feel good about myself. So you should always celebrate how great a parent you've been, because I think you've been a great parent because you've let me be the person I am. And that's who I want to be. And I don't feel like a failure in any way. I am on track to become the person that I'd like to be soon. I don't feel I've let myself down, because as long as I continue to live up to what I've already proved about myself, I'm satisfied enough. And as long as I know I'm on the road, on that pathway to what I'd like, I know I'm on the road to success. I feel great. So Mom, Dad, if you're going to continue to project onto me a feeling of your disappointment that I'm not the person you would have liked me to be, I'm going to go away for a while until you get over that. Because I'm not going to be anyone other than I'm going to be. And when you accept that, and accept me, and appreciate me for who I am, we're going to get along great.
Yeah.
The same for your boss, same for your girlfriend. Everyone has to understand, hey, I'm sorry, at no point did I suggest that just because I gave you a lift, that we're friends. Just because I'm talking with you does not mean I'm going to get into this fight that I believe you're in the wrong. Right? I need for other people to expect of me only what I know I can deliver. Now, this is how I keep from disappointing them, because the feeling of another person's disappointment is acrid. It dissolves you. It's awful. So long as I never feel I'm disappointing myself, and as long as no one else has any justification to feel I'm disappointing them, justification, that's where it's not that they decided I was going to do something, it's where I committed to doing something.
I see.
When there's no one who has a legitimate grievance, you get to feel great. The third part is the most important part. The third type of expectation management. First, manage your expectations of yourself so you always feel that you're on the right track and that you are the person you'd like to be. So you always feel successful. Second one is make sure that no one projects onto you expectations that allow them to feel disappointing in you. Better to disappoint them right this minute by saying, no, that's not how it is.
Yeah, true that.
Third type of expectation management is managing your expectations of other people so that you don't consistently project onto them expectations that they aren't going to live up to, so that you don't live constantly disappointed by other people and therefore making them feel bad. Had a friend come over. We have a please take your shoes off policy at my place.
Yep.
Came over, didn't take his shoes off. I said, would you mind taking your shoes off? He said, I really can't. I'll just go, it's no problem. I said, no, I'd rather have you here. Could you tell me what the reason is? He said, no, I don't want to get into it. I said, look, if it's something trivial, like your socks smell bad, that I can understand. I'll go get you another pair of socks, sit down on the toilet bowl in my bathroom for a minute, wash your feet, put on the new socks. We'll either launder your socks or throw them away and come into the house. He said, really? I said, of course, like this is a big deal for me. But in his mind, he was so embarrassed about the fact that his feet smelled badly. He didn't want to take off his shoes. I let people be the person they are. If you're an ADD space cadet, I'm not going to expect you to be punctual at appointments. I'm not going to expect you to remember what it was we were talking about.
Yeah.
But that's fine, because there will be benefits to involving myself in your world that will make it all worthwhile, I'm sure. If you're uptight and judgmental, I'm not going to project upon you that you're going to be able to stop being uptight and judgmental. I'm going to ask you whether you recognize that being uptight and judgmental is a failing. And would you like some help with that? If you say yes, I'll be happy to help, and I'll expect that you're still going to be judgmental and uptight until such time as I have a reason to believe you've made a breakthrough. But that's okay. I can put up with uptight and judgmental people as long as I know they recognize this is not how they'd like to be.
Yeah.
Women lie all the time because they believe their job is to make other people happy with them.
Yeah. Can I just pause you for 1 sec? I want to start a new recording just to make sure everything's still here.
Sure.
Okay, please continue.
In the same way as women grow up never taking responsibility for themselves, they also recognize that they never want to say no. They'll give you a phone number that isn't theirs, or they'll give you a phone number with no intention of ever answering it, rather than turn you down at the time about giving you their number. Women will say, sure, I'd love to go out to this with you on this day. And they'll tell 5 other people that they'll do something with them on that day too.
So true, man. So true.
Even their girlfriends. There's one thing all men and women can agree upon. It's that you can't trust girls. This is not because girls are dishonest. It's because girls have been trained to give the expedient answer that makes the other person happy, because they'll be able to wash their hands of it by the time it comes back to haunt them. I'm sure you've noticed this countlessly.
Yes, sir.
So, knowing this about women, I know to expect it from them. So if I make a plan to meet up with some girl on Friday, I've made a plan to meet up with 5 different girls on Friday. In the worst case, they all show up. Well, in the worst case, none of them show up. But generally speaking, since all my playmates know that they're not ever going to be the only one who gets to come to the Johnny restaurant, they understand. And the good news is they all look forward to it, because I'm happy to be their tour guide into their first bisexual encounter. They have a lot of fun with this. They get to hang on to something like a banister, well, not quite a banister, that they're familiar with and comfortable with while they get to play with girls, because every girl is bisexual from the waist up at least. Every girl wants to play with boobies and kiss up. But I don't allow myself to feel upset because someone stood me up, because I recognize that that is in their nature. If it really matters to me, here's a fun one. Violet had an incredible orgy party for me a couple of years ago for my birthday. She invited a whole bunch of our girlfriends, and she told them all it was going to be a surprise party, so they needed to be there by 7:30 because I would be arriving at 8. So all the girls were there. Now, of course, she knew I hate surprises, and so she told me all about it. Otherwise, she couldn't be sure I'd show up at all. Of course, I played nice, and everyone was happy, and everyone was sobbing. I knew why she did it. It was because the only way you could get a bunch of girls to show up at the same place at the same time was give them a compelling reason that was exciting to them to make them want to show up. It's like herding cats.
Yeah.
You have to present something, they'll follow. Okay. Understanding this makes it really easy to get along wonderfully with women. Women are, in fact, super predictable.
Mm.
All my girlfriends, they know that I understand the other girls better than they do. And I usually understand them better than they do. So they call me up and they say, Johnny, am I going through PMS today? Am I ovulating today? Because they know I keep their schedules in my BlackBerry, in my calendar. I know when girls are going to be in different states of mind.
Wow.
Things they can't control. My girlfriends, and there are many, are fantastic people of all walks of life. The ones who are very public often are in the skin trade. They're either porn stars or exotic actresses or escorts or exotic dancers or strip club attendees or whatever. Because they know they've got nothing left to prove. They know they've got no reason to appear to be a good girl. Many of my very affluent, powerful, intelligent, very well educated lawyer girlfriends, very, very highfalutin medical doctors and things, who feel that they have a reputation to protect, they won't generally come out with large groups. They'll come out with five. Because they all know that any person who sees me with a bunch of girls is going to assume that I'm a rock star and that all the girls know what my semen tastes like off all the other girls' faces. Now, that's not an unfair guess, I'm proud to say. But some girls don't want to be in Johnny's posse.
Yeah.
Posse is spelled with a U, P-U-S-S-E. The feminine. Because they know that might have negative repercussions. Some of them don't give a flying fuck. Some of them are so well established it doesn't bother them at all. But I understand and I appreciate that society is very...
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine. Can you hear me and see me?
Yeah, you cut off there, so I just hung up.
Sorry about that. It was my fault. Never let a piece of electrical equipment know you're in a hurry or under any time pressure. Anyway, so to tighten this up a little bit, because I think we've been on the phone for a couple hours now.
Yeah, we've been on for a while. You're very generous too. Thank you. I mean, I'm sure the guys right now they weren't expecting any of this, and they're just probably like mind blown.
It's my pleasure, and again, I ask everyone before they come to my workshops to go over my free public seminars, like the one at seductivereasoning.com or the ones at lifescheatcodes.com, because I want people to already have an inkling, to already be on the right track, because there are so many layers. How many times have you watched the Seductive Reasoning video?
At least 5. And every time you write anything, I read it over and over, and I think about the stuff daily and get little epiphanies here and there. Like, yeah.
I'm very proud. I put about 20 hours of content into about 5.5 hours of video.
Wow.
It's definitely very layered. My job, and this is the challenging bit, my job is to lead people along a path that is so clear, so clean, despite the fact that it is slowly going uphill the whole time, that their ego never steps in and tells them that it's wrong, never tells them, wait a second, that violates what I've always known to be true. I'm positioning things so that they come to their own conclusions one after another after another. By the time we've wound up the road to the point that they're at the top of the mountain, they don't even realize they've gone up at all. And then I say, hey, look back down there where we started. And they go, that's what my job is. My job is to blow minds for a living.
Yes.
And to take people who have a desire to become the person they'd like to be and help them become someone I can look at as a friend. Like I said, best job in the world. I get to make friends. And if at the end of it, I can't look at the person as someone that I'd like to know as a friend, I haven't done my job. So it's very entertaining for me.
Wow, beautiful. Okay, thank you so much for your time. Is there anything I just want to see here? Do you want to mention the limited spaces or the discount that's happening? What's the window for that? Or?
Well, actually, there are 3 spaces left of the 6 that get 40% discount on the
Okay.
workshop. The workshop returns to its regular $5,000 price as soon as they're full.
Okay.
Right now, $3,000. Frankly, I don't make money at $3,000, but it means I can guarantee all the rooms and things like that. So this is an entire immersion thing, a week-long event. You end up getting a luxurious, gorgeous accommodation at a resort immediately across the street from where the porno convention is taking place and where we spend an awful lot of our time. Because after all, I happen to know everyone in the business.
Yeah. And when are the dates of the event?
January 12th to 19th.
Okay.
In Las Vegas, Nevada. Accommodations are taken care of. Everyone is invited to bring their romantic partner if they have a girlfriend or even boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
As long as they don't mind sharing a bed and being seen as a couple, I'm perfectly happy to have them there. And they attend for the same price as a single.
Oh wow. Okay. And one question I want to ask you: let's say a guy's interested in this, and I'm gonna put a link to your page, the events page, so they can check it out in detail.
Well, even easier, send them please to successfulness.com.
Okay.
That's the mandate. That's the nature of this. It's all about becoming fundamentally successful, because there's no more attractive and compelling characteristic than that radiation that you generate. That radiant comfort you generate when you're both self-satisfied and happy at the same time. Successfulness is that confluence where you are consistently both happy and self-satisfied. So, again, I'm not teaching guys to pick up women. I'm teaching guys to be awesome in life.
Yeah.
Picking up women is an easy side effect, a byproduct that becomes so effortless. I never think about myself as a pickup artist. I just think I'm really happy being me. I love my life and I love my lifestyle. And pretty much every girl I meet asks me the same question. 15 minutes into talking, she asks me invariably, "Why aren't more guys like you?" And my answer is always the same. I'm working on it.
Well,
that's my job.
That's your job. That's your mission.
I'm working on it. So, please do point people at successfulness.com.
Okay.
You could also send them to datepornstars.com or emancipateyourself.com or my very favorite, my own personal special nickname, the Whore's Whisperer. They all lead to exactly the same thing.
Okay, and do those pages lead to the actual events detail where they could sign up?
They explain in detail the nature of successfulness, the nature of what we're trying to explain. There are video clips on the pages. They lead to the Las Vegas Successfulness Workshop page.
Okay.
Includes details about the specifics. And leads to a place where they can sign right up. They can sign up on their own and be registered immediately. I will shut down that if it ends up that a couple more people sign up on the last day that I'm giving the 6 berths away. I'll include them on the same thing because I only check these things at 3 in the morning my time.
Okay.
But in essence, yes, if you'd like to get in on the cheapo deal, move fast. This is an insane bargain. You get
It is.
of coaching from many of the world's preeminent seduction and lifestyle gurus, personal development wizards, people who will help you to become so comfortable and confident in your life, and you will end up making friends in this week that will remain with you forever. People you can call up and say, "Hey, I'm going to be in your town. Where should I stay?" And odds are overwhelmingly good. They say, "What do you mean, where you stay?" "Stay at my place, of course." It's so great to make a fraternity, and in fact, both for sorority and fraternity, all sorts of people. And the girls come to the workshop, and if they're not partnered with someone, they're so happy because they get to become emancipated and feel free in doing the things that make sense to them. And best of all, they get to meet guys who will not judge them for going to bed with them right away. And so they do.
Yeah.
Boy, there's a lot of sex that takes place at my workshops.
Yeah.
but it's always between freely minded, consenting individuals.
It's a beautiful, innocent thing.
It's absolutely, and nobody has any hard feelings. Everyone walks out of there celebrating and radiant and walking like they're 10 feet tall.
Yeah.
So please, if you get a chance, take a look at the websites. I would like to have you come. Just notice that this guy over here is not compensated for making this video or getting you guys interested. I'm sure I'm going to give him a kickback for referrals because that's just the way these internet businesses work. But the truth is, this is all done because, as you can tell, he's being sincere with all his ridiculous compliments of me.
Yeah, no, I mean it, and like I've paid my money and gone to the event too. So I mean, I'm not telling you to do anything I didn't do, and I came back.
Money back.
Yeah, it's awesome. So last thing I wanted to ask you is, if someone's on the fence, can they contact you?
Oh, sure.
Is that okay?
Look, absolutely. For a lot of people, $5,000 is a lot of money. For some people, it's a drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, it's a big investment. Many people have never thought to themselves, how much could this $5,000 affect my world? How much more satisfied will I be in my life for doing this?
Yeah.
And the only way they're going to get to know it is if they call me up and talk to me. Okay? I'm available to have conversations. My time is my own. I don't work for anyone else. So unless I've got bookings where I'm doing consulting or coaching for people, I'm happy to get on the phone and talk to people. I'm happy to give them a good idea of what it is we're working on, because I never want anyone to regret anything they've done with me. That's just bad karma, man.
Yeah.
So, and also in certain cases, if people are going to have a hard time coming up with all 5,000 at once, since I give a money-back guarantee, if they have to pay me over a number of months, I'm fine with that. Because if they aren't going to be satisfied, I have to refund less money. The way I see it is, everyone who's satisfied with what I've done will pay. And they all do. And I'm totally happy with that. Sometimes it takes 6 months. Sometimes it takes longer. I'm fine with that too, because as long as I know they're doing the things that benefit them, they're going to appreciate me. They're not going to pay me because they feel gratitude. Take a moment and think about the word grateful and gratitude. They come from the word gratis, which means free. Anything you get as a gratuity, anything you get gratis, is something you had no legitimate reason to feel you deserved. If you didn't feel you deserved it, then you feel grateful because you've gotten something for nothing. I'm not going to give anybody something for nothing. You have to demonstrate to me that you're interested. And then I'm going to give you riches beyond compare, and I'm going to expect you to give them to other people when they demonstrate that they're interested. And what do I get out of this? I get to walk around feeling awesome about me all the goddamn time. Hey, if someone said, Johnny, I'm prepared to pay you $5,000 to get to feel good about myself all the time, I'd say, shit, I'm undercharging you. But that's exactly what this is about. After you've come and done this workshop, you get to feel good about yourself all the time because your motivations are so positive, and you spend your excess time doing good things for people you consider worthy. You do not waste your time pissing it away, giving it to people who don't deserve it. And it's so wonderful. You get rid of the phony people in your life that you never needed in the first place. How much is that worth? How much is it worth to get to feel self-satisfied and happy all the time? Well, personally, I would give up anything to have it. It's worth any price. And the good news is, it isn't that expensive.
Exactly. When someone looks at it in perspective, it's really a drop in the bucket. It's okay. Awesome, man. Thank you so much for your time, and I'll let you go now.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for letting me pimp out the workshop. We have about 25 returning participants, not including the over a dozen well-known, famous gurus.
Wow.
Which means that in order to have a 2-to-1 coach-to-student ratio, we could have 60 people this year. All I'm looking for is something between 24 and 40, which seems to be at most 2-to-1 for the actual number of professional gurus we've got coming in.
Yeah.
I know that any time I do one of these things, my reputation is on the line, because the only people who've got bad things to say about me online are the people who've never worked with me before.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So, once again, thank you so much, and find a way to convince your mother that it's better for you to show up a little later or leave a little earlier. Make your way to Vegas in January. I know that these guys are going to look forward to it. I know that the guys who already know you are going to look forward to it. And I know that Vi and I are going to look forward to it.
Awesome, Johnny. Thank you so much.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.